Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome you to the media. We have a special guest today. He is talking about his book, In These Streets, Dennis Satillo, and he's going to be talking about the street life and how the street life is kind of in a world we live today. It's mysterious, but it also brings things to light. What if those who live the street life were actually heroes in some people's minds? Or what if those who live the street life, who overcome, can actually save lives? And that's the purpose of this interview today. I'd like to welcome Dennis to the show. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Dennis.
Well, thanks for having me, Brian. Tell you a little bit about myself. Oh man, I could go forever. My my present status of what I'm doing is, I wrote this book, In These Streets. It's a book of short poems about the dark side of addiction to the light of recovery.
Yeah.
And there's a neutral part in there that has a lot to do with domestic violence, the street life, growing up in gangs, dysfunctional families, being sexually abused at a young age, all of that.
Uh-huh.
So and what I do today, my main goal is I write poetry every day, and I carry a message.
Yeah.
I carry a message to the sick and the suffering, and I try to get them as much help as possible.
Yeah.
So I'm actually working for a company right now, trying to get as many people into treatment as I possibly can.
Now, people seem to confuse the street life. Now, me and Dan was talking about this because of the fact that sometimes people who live in the street live in a totally different world from politics, from working class families. So, why do so many people choose that lifestyle? Is it because of love? Tell us about that.
Love has a lot to do with it because, and this is going to sound pretty, maybe a little weird to most of you, but, okay, a lot of you that have grown up in a dysfunctional family, okay, or an absentee mother, absentee father, for instance, don't have that love. You search for it.
Yeah.
You're striving for it. And sometimes, they say blood's thicker than water. So that's not always true. Sometimes water's thicker than blood.
Uh-huh.
And you end up meeting with some good people.
Yeah.
You end up meeting with some bad people.
Uh-huh.
Well, I've had both in my life.
Yeah.
Okay. And by meeting up with some good people in my life, I was introduced to some horrible people. Okay.
Yeah.
And getting involved in gangs, street life, became love that I never thought that I would feel from anybody else other than my homeboys and my homegirls, to put it that way, real bluntly.
So there was like the love factor, the factor of belonging.
It's the factor of belonging, love, yeah. And I see that's the thing, because I always had a problem, because I was always a leader, not a follower.
Uh-huh.
And so I chose to follow.
Yeah.
But as I followed, I still led, if that makes any sense.
It makes sense. Yeah,
but you can only you can only lead so much when you're, in an incriminating life.
Yeah.
Because you have people ahead of you.
Now the street life is totally different from normal living because of there's a writer who talks about he takes people who are looked at as bad guys sometimes, and he takes the concept of what their motives were, and he creates them into superheroes.
Oh.
Now, your story right now is unique because you've had drug problems, you've been in gangs, and you're in the redemption stage. So now that you're able to you've seen two worlds in a sense. Now, I've overheard some of the people who've been raised in the streets say if most of the people who were raised in the streets were in leadership positions, then the world would be much different. Do you think that's a fair statement?
Oh, yes. I mean, depending upon the human being, of course. But yeah, I definitely would have to say it's a fair statement.
Because there's a separation now. People who Now, why do you think? Why do you think it's like that? Do you think it's because of the fun or of the excitement? I mean, what happens in the street life?
Fun and excitement, yes, but you really learn how to survive by any means necessary,
Uh huh.
Yeah, it's
and
about survival.
it's about
Yeah,
survival, definitely.
and where do so where do you? But I want to thank you, Dennis, for coming in here and sharing your story, and thank you for writing the book.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for having
Um,
me, Dan.
and I'm really looking forward to purchasing your book and reading it because I draw my inspiration from people like you
Yeah.
Oh,
who've seen the worst of humanity
yes,
and who've been to the dark side
yes,
and on the back of your book you talk a little bit about how you don't want to go back there
no,
and
definitely,
and how you encourage people to not give up hope and to look for a better way forward and because if you give up hope then all there is left is despair
Absolutely.
and
definitely.
hopelessness and depression
Hmm.
and so that thank you so much and look forward to hearing more about your story.
Yeah, Dan was over there. He almost shed tears reading. He was like, I mean, he was about. But I think what the thing is though is it's an amazing because what we see now is we see the separation gap in this country and we see it happening every day and no one really knows what happens in the street life. So tell us a little bit of what it was like growing up in that part of society.
Well, first of all, I want to say, and with that, corruption has a lot to do with everything. Okay, um, we come from a generation where we were corrupted. Um, it's '70s babies, early '80s babies. I mean, way before then, there's always been corruption.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. Our kind of corruption was different. It started off with, think about it, movies, music,
Uh huh.
okay, the whole pornography,
Yeah.
all these things. They were brought to attention at a young age. I don't know about you guys,
Uh-huh.
but for me, at a very young age.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, and that was even when, I was living with my father or with my mother,
Uh huh.
who were raising me, properly in the
Yeah.
right way.
Yeah.
There's only so much you could do.
Yeah.
Um, Now to get to your question again, can you ask that one more time?
I mean,
About
I'm just trying to figure out, what give us some of the situations that you've seen.
situations?
Some things that you've seen. I remember you telling me the one story about having your best friend having to put the gang symbol, burning the gang symbol on you and things like that. Tell us about some of that. What actually happens in this conversion or when you have to take the code of the streets.
Oh yeah, in order to get into the streets, which is something you don't ever want to do. Believe me, because they say blood in, blood out, and that's 100% true. Um, Meaning you're in it for life, or you're gonna get killed if you try to get out of it. Me, I came from a circumstance where I was kind of what you would call the pit bull.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was able to growl my way out,
Yeah. Yeah.
for
Yeah.
instance, which isn't that's not a good thing either. Um, but I'm just trying to put into words what Brian's trying to ask me now to get into these situations. Oh man, you get jumped into gangs
Yeah.
by like numbers of people. Um, for me, that didn't work so good. They tried jumping me in with like 5 people. They all got laid down. So they're like, oh, we need to do something
Yeah.
else.
Yeah.
So they're like, there's a thing called putting in work,
Yeah.
which is doing something very incriminating.
Yeah.
And there's doing dirt,
Yeah.
which is the worst and the lowest of the low,
Yeah.
which you can only imagine. Um, and so I put in work to be accepted into my gang. I'm not going to name the
No,
gang.
you don't have to. You don't have to.
Because
Well, I think some of us already know some of the gangs that are
Right.
here in America: the Bloods, and the
Bloods,
Crips, and Hell's Angels, and
oh yeah,
a lot of different gangs.
yes.
Yes, I mean, you don't have to give too much information, but
I would say that okay, yeah, I mean most of the United States is controlled by with the gangs, the Bloods, the Crips, the Chicano gangs.
Yeah.
There's two different big huge Chicano gangs that are just running rampant. Okay, and I mean no disrespect to my Latino friends and brothers and sisters out there. I love you all. Without you guys, we wouldn't have America today. Okay, because you guys are out here working. Okay, taking a lot of jobs that a lot of lazy people.
yeah.
That my forefathers,
Yeah.
your forefathers, set down for us.
Yeah.
But because a lot of people are lazy today, okay, that are of the race of white, black, Italian, whatever, so have you. So, a lot of foreigners come here and they take the jobs because they're willing to work.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, situations, there's just so many.
So basically, it's almost like a creed of different culture, of different races who choose different gangs. Is that where you're going?
Mainly, yes.
And these gangs pretty much are like the front lines for those races. That's how it almost sounds like. Say, for instance, like you mentioned the job scenario.
Mm-hmm.
So, and in an African American situation where they don't have the war, the people on the street to help fight for them. So sometimes it sounds like what you're saying is sometimes these gangs act as the front line for some of these people.
Right.
So now that's amazing because that's an interesting concept, and I'm sure there's a lot of people who don't know that. So it's almost like in maybe like this, I think was it early 1900s where we had the KKK, and you have all these different groups who come, and you had the Black Panthers. So the gangs. So even when we talk about Tupac in general, now Tupac said when he looked at society, he saw the wealthy as having their own gang. So there was a separation in there.
Right.
So that's how. So is that how the kind of creed kind of starts in a sense?
Oh yeah, definitely. Like we were talking about with races and genders and all of that. The gang that I was in, we were the one gang where it didn't matter if you were white, black, Italian, Puerto Rican, Greek.
Yeah.
For the most part, in our city here, we were filled with a lot of Latinos, a lot of Italians. Okay, a lot of Greek people.
Yeah.
Okay, which is very odd when you think about that. Because I come from the 90s was when I was a teenager. Okay,
Yeah.
and 1993 was one of the worst years on the map here in Youngstown.
Yeah.
93, 94, 95, 96. It's just off the charts with murders.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think we were number one in the entire country for the size of our city.
Yeah, Youngstown is unfortunately had an image problem for a long time.
Yes.
Not only with gangs but with organized crime.
Oh yeah,
the mafia.
Mm.
And yeah, that's very real because I had some personal encounters with Lenny Strollo, who was kind of a historical Youngstown figure.
So that life, what you're saying is that life becomes adaptive to not only just the average male, but just even people who are in the system.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And now what happens when? Would you blame it on corruption, or would you blame it? I mean, what makes people turn to that type of lifestyle?
Corruption has a lot to do with it. Okay, but like I said, we all have our own minds, we all have our own heart, and we all have our own soul. Some of us are born sociopathic.
Yeah.
Which those people really don't feel. Okay, and well, they may feel, but I think they could go murder somebody, sit down, have a bowl of cereal, and
The
go to
next
sleep.
day, yeah,
Everything will,
animal instincts, pretty much.
animal instinct. Yeah, it's very animalistic.
Yeah,
Okay. Corruption has a lot to do with it, but I mean, and that just takes it straight to the working class man.
yeah,
Okay. 100%. But we all have our own minds.
yeah,
We all have our own heart. We have our own soul. We have to make the decision that, look, man, the streets ain't the way to go. You got a mother and a father out there, and I'm speaking to all of you now, as well as you guys. You have a mother and a father, okay? Even the ones that are absentee mothers and fathers, you got one blood mother and one father in your life. You need to think about that, okay? Before you pick up a gun or you pick up drugs and your brother, your older brother or your older cousin, this has to go with corruption too, because the family is corrupt. The family is corrupt.
yeah,
The children at young ages.
The family. That's right. In other words, what I'm hearing you say is when a family lacks love,
Mm-hmm.
those children are at a young, impressionable age, and I think we need to get back to our taking our roles as mothers and fathers
Right.
more seriously, and how much and to understand that how your child can be harmed. For example, when you sit down and let a 4 or 5-year-old play violent games.
Mm-hmm.
And or to glorify war, or to think that it's okay to rob somebody and kill someone, and without, and there's no consequences. So you kind of agree with that we need to, parents need to take that role more seriously.
Morals.
Morals.
Yeah, need to come back into play in this world.
I'm glad to hear you say that, because there's a lot of people that don't see that how these lack of morals and can destroy a community or destroy society as a whole.
I never knew family played a lot of so.
The family unit as a whole, okay, plays a huge role in everything. Okay, and like I said, for some families, that they're just dysfunctional. Okay, they may not be in the streets. Okay, they may not be in the hoods. They may not be in rural areas. Okay, but you know what? They still have access to everything.
Yeah.
Okay, and the one thing is, now, the sad thing is, this is where race gets involved, and I hate it, because we all bleed the same blood.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
I don't care if you're black, white, Latino, whatever. I got love for all of you. Okay, and that's what we need to get back to also. Or actually, that's what we need to bring.
Right.
I don't know if it ever was here.
Yeah.
Because I think this has been a problem
like that for a while.
forever.
Yeah.
Racism, bigotry, just disrespect, for even for the genders, and it's just like, love, learn to love, be peaceful. But the topic, okay, family life has a lot to do with it all, because now the people that are born in the hoods, a lot of black and Latino people, okay?
Yeah.
And there's plenty of white people in the hood too. I
Yeah.
was born and raised on the south side of Youngstown, okay? They have a lot of fathers, a lot of older brothers, cousins. They'll just hand them drugs. You want to make money, here, because
Right.
Yeah.
they'll get them working underneath them.
Yeah.
Because if they get caught, they got to go to juvie for a little bit. They get to roll out. Excuse my street language here, but they get to bounce out of this situation and just
Yeah.
completely get off.
Yeah.
And they, instead of putting a book in their hand and sitting down and doing homework with them,
Yeah.
instead of trying to teach them a sport, extracurricular activities, something that has to do with, maybe just arts.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
there's other choices besides selling drugs. Okay?
Exactly. There's
But-
many.
So I think that's good for to know that that there are other choices, and but as far as selling drugs goes, what I'm trying to get into somebody's head about why they make a decision to do that in the first place.
Yeah.
Because it's illegal. You can get caught. You can go to prison, and people are still making that decision anyway. Is it out of desperation? Is it because could it be because of there's lack of opportunities, and because desperate people are sometimes forced to do desperate things?
You just nailed it all right on the head. It's all of those are correct. Desperation, lack of opportunity, fast money. Okay, you get a little taste of that green, that dollar bill, and you want to keep going back to it. It becomes an addiction, just like drugs are an addiction. The money becomes the addiction. So the drug dealers themselves are addicts. Okay? Drug dealers themselves are addicted. They're addicted to the money. They're addicted to the materialistic things. Okay, all of this. It's crazy.
Now tell us about, because we were talking about this. Okay, we have a problem in where now I've seen this quite a bit, where the man has to separate business from emotion from family. Now we have a new administration. Now Donald Trump, if I quote this correctly, a while back, as a businessman, he said that people should not fault those who sell drugs, because they think, if I'm correctly, I did read this somewhere, they think similarly to a business minded person. So now everybody faults capitalism, and
Right.
everybody is against capitalism, because they say that to be able to make money, sometimes you cannot have a soul. Now when you look at a president who, I want to look at this from a realistic standpoint. So when they study the streets, and most people who are wealthy get their same information and their same way of making money from those who sell drugs. So they say it's no different for them than it is for going and selling candy to a kid. Would you agree with that statement?
Oh yeah, definitely. To a degree. It goes both ways. Okay. Let me tell you something. I've known plenty of people that they get up, they go to work every day. They bust their hump, doing labor.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you have your politicians.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you got your guy that gets selling drugs isn't an easy thing, people.
Yeah.
It takes work.
Yeah, it takes work.
It takes a lot of work. You
got to build up that clientele.
You're up at the crack of dawn, and you may be going until the crack of dawn. The next day, you may not sleep for 2-3 days, because you got people like I used to be, active addicts, blowing up your phone 24/7, 365 days a year. I need this, I need that, I need this, I need that. So it's like, it's all work. It's all work in one way or another. It's just, we get back to the moral point.
But the heroin is also an epidemic.
It's a huge epidemic.
In the Youngstown, Warren area, because there's certainly, I've seen a lot of treatment centers spring up over the last year or so.
Oh, yeah.
And people wanting to get off, to try to break that addiction. And then you got Donald Trump administration coming in saying that we're going to have border security.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he's saying. And because he wants to stop that flow of drugs coming into this country and poisoning our communities and poisoning our youth.
So the product is, and this is what makes this conversation interesting, is that if I've got a product on the shelf, we watched this in American Gangster, we watched this, and I talked to a buddy of mine, and I guess he had a weed selling problem. He would sell weed,
Right.
So they battle for the product that's going to get people high, that's going to keep them high,
Mm-hmm.
but they also need them to be alive because they need the cash flow. So you're basically saying that some people have no emotion in them to take their product off the shelf when they know it's killing these people's family.
Oh yeah, it's like some drug dealers, for instance. I'm just gonna put it very bluntly. Um, okay, heroin in itself is horrible for you, obviously.
Yeah.
Okay, but it's also when it's used for the correct way for medicines.
Right.
Okay,
Of course,
it can
yeah.
help.
In the same way with marijuana.
Same thing with
I believe
marijuana.
it's the
Same thing with
oxycodone. Is it? Yeah.
yeah, cocaine, the
Yeah.
coca plant. Okay, but when have you ever seen a coca plant made in Youngstown?
Uh-huh.
When have you ever seen a poppy field in
Yeah.
Youngstown?
Yeah.
No, you don't. Okay, and the thing is, okay, shutting down the borders, how do I feel about that? Well, for a point, it's going to help a little bit, but it ain't going to stop
gonna
it.
stop
You know why? Because they're bringing it in.
They got
Well,
underground
see,
tunnels.
the thing is, yeah, they'll find another way to bring it in.
Yeah.
What you're saying is because the demand, but if you go back to that, it's because the demand is here.
The demand is here.
Okay, supply and demand.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're going to really take it serious, you want to stop this, you have to take another look at how we're actually fighting the war on drugs
Exactly.
because it's not working.
No.
Whatever it is we're doing, it's not working.
No. No.
And some people have their life on the line. I mean, once you get it, like you said, it's blood in, blood out. So once you get into that game, that's like having a underground tunnel of soldiers, a whole army.
Oh yeah.
So when Donald Trump, even in that administration, by him saying that, do you think that's going to stir up? I mean, I guess what I'm trying to figure out is how do we fight the war on drugs? And I think you said it perfectly by the conversion of self, and I think by you, and that's
Right.
what I'm interested in is how did you,
redemption?
yeah,
You-
the
you-
redemption of
you
it.
mentioned the word redemption on the back cover of
Oh,
your book,
yes.
and
So tell I mean how did you come to the point to say I don't want to live like this anymore? That's the only way that I believe that you can fight the war on drugs. Is that correct? Do you believe that?
With the drug part, 100%. You need to hit your rock bottom for most people, and some people unfortunately never hit that rock bottom. And I'm not.
Sometimes when you hit the rock bottom, you pretty much lose everything.
Oh yeah, it's how come I walk with this cane today? All due to drugs. The drug dealers too. They got their own rock bottoms.
Yeah.
So they got rock bottoms. They're faced with a lot of time. They're faced with life. They're faced with institutions. It's one or the other. So
Yeah.
it affects us all, and it affects the whole community because it's like I said, it starts with the families,
Mm-hmm.
and then by affecting the families, you're affecting the community. By affecting the community, you're affecting the entire United States of America.
Yeah.
And we can't have this keep going on.
Right. I agree.
The only way, like I said, is morally we need to get back morally to what our grandparents used to have. You sit down, you have dinner together.
Right.
Okay.
And you prayed.
You pray.
You joined hands and you prayed before dinner. Yeah, and at least that's the way it was at my house.
And I don't want to offend anybody, but being very spiritual is a huge part of this.
I was going to ask you about
It's a
that.
part of my life. Okay, Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior.
Yeah.
Amen.
Amen.
Amen to that, brother.
He's my Lord and Savior, and without Him in my life, okay, I don't know where I would be today.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not saying for you that's where it needs to start, but I can't. But I am saying give it a chance. Okay, whether you're atheistic or whether you're just confused and you don't know, give the Lord a chance because He's the one person that's never going to turn His back on you. He's always going to be there. I mean, through the toughest times and through the greatest times, the Lord's there. And
Well, about, not to interrupt you, but I think a while back, a few years ago, I think with the young people, there was a bracelet that was real popular, WWJD. What would Jesus do? And so I think I think you definitely are saying something that we need to really talk about, is to look at Jesus and look at and how he approached solving problems in his day.
But when we look at the essence of your poetry, we'll get into that now, because now in your poetry you talk about a light side and a dark side and a neutral side. Now, if you look at the when you take it back to the religious foundation and how some of the philosophers would have an interest in religious subjects, they couldn't figure out why human beings had a conscience. So when you talk about Yeshua, you Jesus Christ, being your savior, you're basically saying that a person has to transform their mind to try to be pleasing in the sight of God, to be able to overcome the dark side, the dark thoughts, pretty much.
oh, definitely. Yeah, I mean, you have to have that spiritual awakening.
Yeah.
Okay.
I believe that spiritual awakening is everything. And with me, I'm 2 years, 9 months, and some odd days clean right now.
Thank God. That's amazing.
Yeah, that's a blessing.
It truly is. And
So at what point did you have that awakening? Do you
my
think?
spiritual awakening, that's exactly what I was getting at.
Spiritual awakening.
My spiritual awakening didn't actually happen until I was about 19 months sober. Okay? When I was 19, other than that, I still believed in Jesus. I always had a strong belief. I was born and raised Byzantine Catholic. But
So even as you were going through all this, the drug addiction and, Jesus was always there.
it was always there, except
okay.
there were. I don't mean to interrupt you, sir,
No,
but what
that's
you were
fine.
just saying was, yes, I renounced God. I spit in the
Okay.
mirror at myself, and I'm damning the Lord. I'm asking. I'm like, why? How can you do this? All these people dying. What are you doing to me? It's like, you don't care. Are you even really here? I had my doubts.
Yeah.
Going through this, that was during
Thanks
the
for
dark
sh-
side.
thanks for
Yeah, that's
sharing that,
amazing. That's
because
amazing.
you were probably looking at all of the death and destruction and and how could a loving God allow this to happen?
Right.
Right. So,
And, it's like they say, are you supposed to question God? It's like they're saying no. So I feel I was sinning by doing that, once I got myself on the right track. But again, the spiritual awakening happened at 19 months. Okay. And it happened, now I know he won't mind me using his name. My brother from another mother, my best friend, Rocky DeFrank.
Yeah.
Okay. He spoke to me on the phone for about 3 hours one night.
Yeah.
Okay. And everything that he was telling me, I was fighting my demons, and when I mean demons, I mean literally my demons.
Yeah.
And I also mean from another level, with the drugs and this and that, like having struggles about thinking about wanting this or wanting that. And everything that he talked to me about, everything that I thought was wrong. Everything that I thought was right.
Yeah.
It's like it just all came together and it clicked. It was a true spiritual awakening. And I ended up crying tears of joy for over an hour and a half to my father.
wow.
And he's like, why are you crying, Dennis? I'm like, Dad, if you could just feel what I'm feeling right now.
Holy Spirit.
The Holy Spirit. It's the Holy Spirit. It's a divine intervention. It truly is. I was like, if you could just feel what I'm feeling right now, if Kenny could, if my mom could, if we could all feel what I'm feeling right now, then you would understand. I was like, and I really think that would help change the world.
Yeah.
And that's what it's really all about, is changing the world. Not just changing the United States. The United States is a huge point because this is our home. But it really takes the world. We got to change the world. In order to do this, we need to change the world.
So your message as an author now and as a recovering addict is the only way for the people who are in this drug game to make a difference is they have to have a redemption story. There has to be a level in their life where they finally come to the table and say, I need to start saving people rather than destroying people's lives. In the product that they're putting out, they have to be able to be in complete obedience and just admittance that that product is not a good product to have out on the streets. So now that you've said that, so how does the person who is struggling from addiction, how do they come to terms to say, I don't want to be a user anymore, or I don't want to be a consumer? So how do they get to that point?
Um, for everybody it's different. Um, like I said, you got your rock bottom. You got people that lose people.
Yeah.
And then like you just come to the realization one day you may have overdosed like I did, and which is a rock bottom, but at the same time, so many people have overdosed way more than I have,
Yeah.
and they just get up out of the hospital, walk right out, go back out, and use the same thing again.
Yeah.
Okay, me, I was given tough love by my brother Ken.
I would imagine because they cared about you, and I don't want to try to. I'm just going to probably want to say if you were my son, I would certainly wouldn't want you to die, and I would see that.
Exactly.
I would just want to let you know that I loved you, and that there is, and don't continue down the road of destruction. And I think that's the decision that you made. That you said no, you're right. You've chose the road to redemption and the road to revival.
Yeah.
Well, exactly what happened was during this was during my third overdose, and I've overdosed 5 times, flatline 3.
Yeah.
During the third overdose, my brother never showed up at the hospital. I'm like, "Where's Ken?" They're like, "He's done with you, man." And I'm like, "What do you mean he's done with you?" He's like, "He said that's it for Pam, who's my sister-in-law. That's it for Spencer, who is my nephew and my everything."
Yeah.
I mean, I love Spencer to death. I dedicated this book to Spencer because I don't ever want him to go through the struggles that I had to go through.
Yeah.
So, therefore, that is where it is. But when he told me, well, when my family told me that it was over, okay, and I got him on the phone, and he was just like, "Don't ever call me again, it's over."
That's when it happened.
I beat myself in the. This isn't the right thing to do, by the way, people. Don't ever do this at home. I beat myself in the face to a pulp. That's why I got a lazy eye always. I mean, I've been in so many fights I can't stop counting. I don't know how long ago it was. So I got lazy eyes and stuff like that. But I beat myself in the face so bad that my face was just pulp. Then this angel comes walking in the room, this nurse. She said, "Do you believe in Jesus?" I was like, "Oh, I most certainly do." She's like, "Well, first of all, you need to stop hitting yourself, or I have to get people to come in here and restrain you."
Yeah.
I'm like, "Okay, I will. I'm in tears. And she said, "Just give me 1 minute."
Yeah.
She walked out of the room, came back with the Bible, King James Bible, and she said, "All I want you to do right now is read the Psalms. I want you to just start by reading the Psalms."
King David.
Exactly. And I get to Psalm 23, which is one of the most famous psalms on the face of the earth. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, the Lord is my shepherd. I shall fear no evil.
For thou with me, yeah.
For thou is with me, yes. When I read that psalm, I got to it. It hit me like a ton of bricks. I was just like, okay, I need help. I need to get to a treatment facility. And my mother was in my ear. Thank God. God bless you, Mom. Thank you. My mother was in my ear for years, but I wouldn't listen. She wanted to do an intervention with me. But some people, when they're as deep as I was in the drug life, okay, an intervention's not going to work for that person, especially when they are intoxicated. So please, people, if you're going to do an intervention, I suggest let an interventionist do it. Let somebody that has some kind of knowledge of how to do it. Don't try to do it yourself, because it could lead to really bad things, which it did with me. So, anyways, you know, all this is happening. You know, I got my mom in my ear. I got this in my ear. You know, I call Neil Kennedy. You
Uh-huh.
know, and I know he won't mind me using his name either. Thank God for this man, Jonathan Wilkins. Thank you, bro. He was my counselor at Neil Kennedy,
Uh-huh.
and you know, he helped save my life. You
That's what
know,
happened.
that place. Well, it may be here in town, but it's a great place.
Yeah.
Okay. Jonathan is a great counselor. He's somebody that didn't take no guff, no BS from nobody. I mean, he just straight up looked at me. He was like, "You ain't gonna make it in here." I'm like, "What you mean?" He's like, "I can already tell who you are, what you're about." And I'm like, "What you mean?" He's like, "Oh, you're a big bad,
Yeah, yeah. You got it all
um,
figured out.
you're a big bad, you know, and you manipulate everybody, get through the way of your life." And I was like, "You know what? Yeah, you're right. You are 100% correct." I'm like, "But you know what? I'm here on my own accord. I came here to change. I really came here to change." And that night when I went to bed, or tried to go to bed anyways, I was up all night thinking. Um, I got up in the morning, went to group. I zipped my mouth, opened my eyes, opened my ears, listened to everything that this man had to say. And any time that I had a question, I rose my hand,
Yeah.
you know. And from right then and there, he just got a big grin across his face. It was
Yeah.
like a split pump, you know, like a pumpkin. You know, it was just like, you know, and I was like, oh man, yeah, you know, I was like, all right, I'm gaining his respect.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I'm gaining his respect now, and it just became a good relationship, and it helped me. And I like, you know, thank all the people that are
And
at
that's
Neil
how it
Kennedy.
happened.
Yeah.
Now before we get you out of here, we talked about this, and I'm an author. I
Hmm.
started writing at an early age, but we need to know how people can support your ministry. And I look at it as a ministry because not only is it a redemption story, but you've put your thoughts on paper. So how can people support you, get your book? How can they find you, and how can they get in touch with you if they're struggling with the same thing?
Well, if you're local here in town and anywhere in the Tri County area, okay, Mahoning, Trumbull, Columbiana, you could actually just call me, and I will give out my number because that's what I do. My number is 330-272-6907. You can call me and I can give you the book personally,
Uh,
or you go to Amazon
yeah.
at Amazon.com, and all you have to do is type in Dennis Satillo Jr., and In These Streets will pop up,
Yeah.
and you'll be able to get the book and the CD. Um, this is the book, and this is the CD. Which the whole back is pretty much just pictures of. It's my support system. People that have supported me through my life. My family members mainly.
Uh,
Some friends. Um, you know, some really good people on there.
and what I always want to tell people is when we met, this is what amazes me about you. I'll give a little bit of testimony about my experiences with you, so people will know. When we met, you said, and this is what I face this a lot with people who have thoughts in their mind, but they don't want to get them out. And this is what I like about you, Dennis, is here's a person who took it upon himself, and you asked me and you said, Brian, I want to publish. And this is why independent publishing is a good thing, because I'm going to tell people how it is in the authorship world and why people should purchase the book and why people should help your cause. Because in the authorship world, a lot of people don't know, a lot of authors struggle for lack of support, lack of readers, and lack of an audience. So when authors see people going out and spending their money on things that they really are not going to really get anything out of, it hurts an author,
Hmm.
and it makes you, it may either it makes you stronger or it breaks you.
Right.
So by me giving by you coming to me and you asking me how can I do this, and you actually spent money to get this product out, so that lets me know that you're willing to take the extra step to save people's life. And you don't see a lot of people like that. I'm just being honest. And you don't have a lot of money. You know, you're not a lot of people don't notice about authors. The life of an author is a hard life, because they don't get a lot of support. They have to get interviews. So this is why I'm telling people, you have to support this man, because there are a lot of people suffering from addiction, and they don't know where to go, and they don't and you need the funds to get your book out there in these people's hands. So like I said, it's been a pleasure. They could also go to method8inc.com and get it too if they want to, the website. It's available on 2 websites, and if they want to come to you personally, and if they want to give you, because it takes a process, we got to get that money when it goes to Amazon. So if you want to support them personally, give him a call and go buy the book off him. He has a bunch of copies. He's an independent author. That means he has rights to all of his stuff. So that's a blessing, and that's pretty much it. I want to thank you so much, Dennis, for coming.
I did want to add.
Oh no, I was gonna ask you that.
Yeah,
I never leave you out.
All right, I know you don't, Brian. I know you don't. I know you don't. I just said I wanted to personally thank Brian and everything he does here at Method 8 Studios, and I want to thank you personally, Dennis, for finding the courage to reach out for help, and just for saying I need help as an individual.
Absolutely.
And so, because sometimes people are afraid I've discovered that they're afraid to make that phone call, to pick up the phone, or to go into that treatment facility and say I need help. Maybe thinking that they're going to look weak. And some people have such a strong sense of pride that they don't want to take that first step. So I admire your courage for doing that, and recognizing that, that's the first step in solving a problem, is recognizing that you have one.
Absolutely.
And so, making a decision that you want to become a better person,
right.
and that could spill over into the community as well. If we do that, to recognize that our families are in trouble, our community's in trouble, and our country is in trouble. And
Absolutely.
I don't want to give up hope either.
No,
I don't want to give up hope on Youngstown or Warren, Northeast Ohio, on the Rust Belt, and I don't want to give up on America.
I gotta mention this. Me and Dennis I never been to a heroin walk before, and there was a woman who had lost her daughter, and people don't seem to get the message. And I'm praying and I'm hoping that people look at this interview and it changes their life, because if a drug dealer can look at his product, and if Donald Trump is correct when he says that they think just like business people do, and business people just think like they do, if your product is not benefiting the person or making them a better person in life, and that's why it's important that people understand you took the product of drugs and turned it into a statement of a book that can be beneficial to your life. So people have a chance to reverse the way of thinking here, and that's why it's important. And people think about, there's mothers who watch their babies. It's hurting America. And this is becoming a national security, a homeland security problem, because they don't know what to do. But I want to thank you so much, Dennis, for coming on the show and sharing your thoughts. And I'm hoping and praying that people get the message, and people do be converted, and people want to let their guns down. I think maybe people are just afraid that they're going to get by giving up that life, they're going to lose something. But basically, what you're saying is you don't lose anything by coming in and doing it the right way, pretty much.
No, you lose a lot of fake people in your life, haters, people that want to just tear you down, and you gain true friends.
Right. Excellent.
You will find out who your true friends are. Get sober.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. Did
Dennis.
you have any last comments before we get out of here?
Oh yeah, Brian. I need to thank you. For being a great publisher, man. You're working with me with my CD.
Yeah,
it's fantastic. Just the relationship that I built with you.
Yeah,
I love it, man.
Yeah,
and I can't wait to get the second one done here. which will be in these streets too.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. Like I said, go out, support the author. Authors, if you're out there, authors have it. If people only knew the world of when people have so many things in their mind, they have to get it out. That's a tough word. I want to thank you so much for tuning into the Mediator, where we find truth in every story. And I want to thank my man Dan the Man here, and we will catch you next time. Thank you so much. Have a good week, everybody, and don't forget to support In These Streets. Go out and buy the book and support Dennis. Have a good week, everybody.
Peace.
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 If you need help, then dial your operator.
Have no fear, fellow citizens.